Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast with Matt Conner and Sterling Holmes. I am Sterling Holmes. We're going to have a lot of fun today. We're playing it fast and loose.
Fast and loose.
Some might say you're in the danger zone.
You're
Kenny
goose.
Loggins would. Kenny Loggins would totally say you're in the danger zone. Everyone in the chat, welcome. We're going to have a lot of fun. But first, Connor, how are you?
I'm in the danger zone. I love it. I was having fun with my logins there. You know what I love? The Kansas City Chiefs today popped open a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon, if you know what I'm saying. Blaine Gabbert. We're going to talk all through that. But boy, oh boy, have I got puns aplenty for Yo Gabba Gabbert. Yeah. But I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm yeah, that's all I gotta say. How about you, man?
But before we get into all this Chief stuff, I just have to say I went to a crawfish boil this weekend. You better believe I acted extremely Cajun. You better believe I'm sitting there shucking that crawfish just with a good old Southern accent. You know, you just gotta get that real Southern molasses going on there.
Wait, how many like appendages does a crawfish have? Like how many little things off the body?
Too many, right? And things in the body too, things that you don't want to know about that you are eating. But let me tell you, tastes good, and I got over my fear of eating an animal where you can still see the eyes.
Were they still moving? Like was it still like
yeah, dude, they're still moving. No, I'm not eating live crawfish. You boil them.
Like sometimes
you have the seasoning, potatoes, corn.
Did you just say taters?
Potatoes.
Oh man, I wish you'd like shed this skin before we started the show.
Yeah, just the skin of the potatoes. You had to work my way up though to the crawfish. You had to go with the potatoes, then you had to go with the corn, then you go to the crawfish. Worked my way up to it. I've always liked fried crawfish.
Yes,
crawfish tails. Tell you what, it really takes the makes it way easier when they do it for you. Crawfish etouffee, you're not having to actually push them, twist them, crack them. Chris Albright says, did you suck the juices out of the head? Yes, because apparently that's where all the flavor's out. Oh. Like all the seasoning, the Cajun seasoning. I don't know what they do in Louisiana. We got these bad boys flown up from Louisiana just for this, okay? It was a good time.
That sounds like biology class. It sounds like you and your friends just went to biology class in a southern sense.
Well, yeah, it's like, you know, when you dissect a frog, you eat them too. You make the frog legs.
Oh, that's disgusting. So how long were you freaking out? And then how long were you okay with it? Like what percent of the time were you know?
Well, I'm going to call it the Chiefs wide receiver core. That's what I'm going to compare it to. Part of me is freaking out. I'm comparing my crawfish eating to the Chiefs wide receivers. Okay, hear me out. I'm nervous. I go, there's no possible way this is going to work out and behoove the Chiefs to go into next year with this wide receiver core. But then I go, wait a minute. Brett Veach is in charge. But wait a minute. Everyone else around me is telling me this is a good idea. Just try it. Just believe. Just trust it. So I'm going to trust it. I trusted the crawfish, and I trust Brett Veach. There you go. There's your crossover.
The only reference that makes sense there is that all the juice in this offense is in the head of the whole thing. That's the only way that analogy works. You know what else is great and juicy? It tastes great. Well, I mean, I don't know. That's not the segue at all. That said, our friends at KC Beer, forget whatever Sterling is bringing up and crazy seafood and this. I mean, I actually like seafood, but nothing Sterling brings up. But what we both agree upon and what we all love is KC Beer. One of the latest developments from our friends at KC Beer has been the fact that they've actually broken their own rules. They, like in the past, they've said we would never do an IPA. That's generally not following the rules of their own house, of the Bavarian purity laws of making beer. But in fact, they actually made an IPA that was so good that it was worth breaking their own rules. It's called Never Say IPA. It's their newest beer and the first IPA to hit their KC beer lineup. It's a celebration of German and American brewing traditions, using hops from both German and America, and as well as some German malt and yeast. So the beer is refreshing. It's aromatic. You have to try it. I love it. I need some more. We're out. Sterling, are you out, by the way?
I've saved it. I still have some. I've had half of it. They gave me 7. It was a 6-pack that was opened, and they put a 7th one in there because they know I need the extra.
Squeeze that in. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's delicious. It goes with everything. It's another great beer from the award-winning brewery that already had a terrific lineup of brews, to be honest with you. Look for the KC Beer Red Carton in your local store and support us here as we make silly puns, talk about great beer, and most of all, talk about our favorite Chiefs with you here at the Arrowhead Addict podcast. Support us by supporting them. Do us a favor. Look, if you're on Twitter, give them a shout at KC Beer Co. Anytime you're out, even if you're buying your 100th carton, because we know what's good, give them a shout. It does make a difference. I promise. For them, for us, and for you. We believe in karma in some way. Also, please drink responsibly. 21 and over only.
Let's get into it. Blaine Gabbert is a Kansas City Chief. This is perplexing, exciting, disappointing, all in one. Whichever aspect you want to look at this, you can. My first thought was, hell yeah. M-I-Z. Z-O-U, Blaine Gabbert. He's a known quantity. We know Andy Reid loves his backup quarterbacks. We know all about Matt Moore, Chad Henne, Kevin Cobb with the Eagles. Like he likes a veteran guy as his backup. Blaine Gabbert fits that mold. But what left me scratching my head, Shane Buechele was kept around all of last year. I believe it was the Arizona Cardinals that reached out and like, yeah, we want Buechele. And the Chiefs like, no chance, partner. We're keeping him. We're going to stash him. So then that led me to believe, all right, Shane Buechele is the guy. He's the backup next year, not the guy, the second guy, right? That's what my thought process was.
Yeah.
But this move has me a little bit confused. What do you take away from all this?
Yeah, to me, here's what it is. If we see the deal and it's clear that Gabbert is the guy in terms of being the number 2 quarterback here, that's going to be very shocking to me. However, what I would predict here is that the terms of the deal will make it clear that he is veteran competition for an unproven Shane Buechele. Remember, the last year on a Super Bowl team, and you and I talked about this last night on the Arrowhead Addict breakdown hour on 810, that look, when you're coaching the Chiefs and when you're building the roster for the Chiefs in the front office, you're not building a roster for a 17-game season. You're not. You're building a roster for 20 games. That's what you're building because you're playing deep into the season. You need guys who are either reliable, durable as hell, or you need significant competition and depth. To me, then, the fact that the Chiefs used one full roster spot on the active roster, not a practice squad, they didn't elevate him at key times. The guy was on the active roster this whole year. They used a spot for Shane Buechele. You don't do that unless you feel like he is going to be your number 2 guy. And if you did that and then you're going to sign Blaine Gabbert the next year, you've wasted that spot last year. I'm sorry, you did. On what is nothing more than a developmental arm for you. So in some ways, the terms of the deal are gonna affect the way I view this. If Blaine Gabbert comes in and says, yeah, give me a veteran minimum deal or something, and I'll fight for that role and I'll compete with Buechele and I'm here to do that, then it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Because then you force Shane Buechele to live up to something and beat out some competition. But if you're just doing this to sit Shane Buechele as QB3 for another year, I don't get it at all. How do you feel?
Same exact way. Because if you're going to just say, well, he's QB3 again, at some point, just cut your ties, move on. Just continuously bring in a veteran backup quarterback just year after year after year. If he's never going to get a shot, why have him? What good does it serve him? What good does it serve the team? It doesn't make a ton of sense. I do think the terms of the contract will come out, and I think you're spot on. Going to be probably a veteran minimum contract. It'll be a training camp, OTA, preseason battle, and they want Shane Buechele to beat someone out. We keep talking about Buechele, and I'm firmly in belief that he can be the backup quarterback going forward, considering he almost won that role last year. There was a legitimate shot that he was going to beat out Chad Henne and be the backup quarterback last year. It didn't end up happening, but eventually you have to see something. Eventually we need to see if he's going to take that next step forward, or else you are wasting a roster spot. The potential's great, but you know who else had potential? Tyler Bray. I mean, seriously, if you're going to go with the guys like, big arms and all that stuff, you got to show something. So I like it. The Mizzou fan in me, that football, which you can kind of see in the back corner, is signed by Blaine Gabbert. I love Blaine Gabbert. It's great. He's a good backup. He's a good backup. He's been on a Super Bowl winning team. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. He's been a starter. San Fran, Arizona. Then he went to the Titans as well. I mean, he's been around the NFL for a while now, right? So he's been around the block. He knows a lot of different offenses. He's been on a winning organization in the Buccaneers. I like the move, but at some point too, I like they talk about the thought process of giving Mahomes a veteran quarterback as if it's like a extra quarterback coach. Mahomes is getting up there. Like, Mahomes is no kid.
Yeah.
Mahomes has hosted 5 straight AFC championship games. Like he doesn't need this old man sitting over his shoulder saying, well, back in my day, son, this is what it's like, you don't need that. What more can Mahomes really learn from these guys when he's already surpassed these guys?
Yeah.
That's just kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you on this. And nothing against Blaine Gabbert at all. And I also don't want to make Shane Buechele out to be like, some savior, like some incredible arm in waiting who's going to one day be his own starter. But, look, the reality is, if I'm Buechele, and the terms of the deal come out and it's very clearly Blaine Gabbert. I mean, if he signs for $3 to $5 million in a year, if I'm Buechele, I'm pissed, because then I'm like, man, I could have at least been competing for some backup reps in Arizona. Like, what are you keeping me for if not to compete? So yeah, it'll be interesting. And what'll make it even more interesting is if the Chiefs find a QB that they like in the draft, who's too good of a value to pass over. I mean, if that happens, then suddenly we're going to be talking about, the insanity of the depth chart here. But yeah, I think it makes sense to have a vet. Here's also the other thing. Blaine Gabbert, if you get to know him in OTAs, you get to know him in the preseason, he doesn't have to make the team, doesn't even have to be on the practice squad, but you have to have a short list of names during the regular season that you can call at a moment's notice and go, hey, you're somewhat familiar here. You kind of know our guys, our system. We're now in need of a guy. How soon can you be here? And so you're going to see Brett Veach continue to kind of poke and prod at maybe some names that were like, wait, what's he doing with that? Or wait, we're already deep at that position. And it's always about keeping that Rolodex. By the way, does anyone use a Rolodex these days? I don't know. Anyway, hey, I wanted to ask you as a Mizzou fan, I know you're very familiar with Gabbert. If Gabbert was going to win this job or impress the Chiefs in a way, like what would you say he does well? That they could see something in him. I mean, obviously, we're talking backup quarterback, so we're not talking about, like, oh yeah, this guy's got monster arm, or he's gonna, but
he did,
yeah. So yeah, I mean, just like, what did you like about him in the past?
Oh, he was incredible at Mizzou, but we're talking over a decade ago now.
Right.
I mean, he's 33 years old. We know who he is. And obviously teams around the NFL know who he is. A solid backup. It's the same thing with Chase Daniel. You don't get the ability to continuously be a backup in the NFL unless you're bringing something to the table. It is not always being a great player. Some of it is but between the ears. So if it is he a good backup to the young guys? Does he help them? Does he bring something intellectually that other people do not? One, is he a hard worker? And two, does he stay out of the way too at times? You don't want your backup quarterback to be all over the news. You want your backup quarterback to put his head down. When he's called upon, does his job. I think he does all of those things. It's the reason why Chase Daniel stuck around so long. It's the reason why Blaine Gabbert stuck around so long. You have to be a great teammate. Players have to like you. Coaches have to like you. And again, he was on the Buccaneers backing up Tom Brady. There was a reason. I'm sure Tom Brady had some say in whoever was going to back him up. Truthfully, though, seriously. So there was something that he saw, and they decided, let's keep Gabbert around. So that's where I'm at. I think it's a fine pickup. I'm going to be thrilled from the Zoo aspect, but again, part of me is a little confused because I do want to see Shane Buechele eventually shit off the pot.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't have any other bigger thoughts really, other than I hope it's competition. If not, I won't quite get it. But that maybe also means that the Chiefs maybe it just means that the Chiefs needed more time with Buechele and ultimately said, that's not going to do it for us. Mm-hmm. I mean, that can happen. And those are things that we cannot know. But yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys, if you guys want to do us a huge favor and you guys like to bet, go to FanDuel, use promo code Arrowhead and get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. $10 first deposit required. New customers only, 21 plus and present in Kansas. Gambling problem? 1-800-522-4700 Kansas. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com or in the description below. Again, FanDuel, code Arrowhead, and a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. You like money, we like money. Go win yourself some money. Anytime you guys use that code, whatever we tell you to go to, whether this one is FanDuel, that does help us out a lot. You have no idea. That was how we were able to do that trip of everyone coming together here in Kansas City, that live show. So again, your guys' help really helps us and hopefully allows us to do more fun events together in the future. So just throwing that out there. Bet, win, have fun.
Literal says drinking, betting, so many favors being asked. Really, we just take all of our cues from movies like Swingers and The Hangover, and then we just ask everyone to participate with us. So
and next up, Cowboy Killers, the official sponsor. No, I'm kidding.
Hey Sterling, I wanted to ask you something because of all the moves that I would like to see the Chiefs make, and I'm going to ask you the same question, but before the draft, we're at 1 week and 2 days before the draft's going to happen. If you were to ask me, and I'm pretending you are, Matt, what's the move you want the Chiefs to make before the draft, if there is one? I would say I would love to see Frank Clark back in the fold at defensive end. And that doesn't have to be in a starting role like he used to. In fact, it could be, more in that Carlos Dunlap, Melvin Ingram kind of a role. I wanted to ask what you thought of that and how much you'd like to see Frank Clark back. And or are you ready to turn the corner, turn the page from that era in general?
If I'm turning the page, it better be the Metallica version. That's all I'm going to say.
Turn the page.
But I like the thought process because, frankly, Frank Clark's not going to play a lot this year. Amenahu is going to take a lot of those snaps because I do think the Chiefs will draft a edge rusher in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Top 3 round at a minimum, right?
Yeah.
So you'll see some investment there. Obviously, Karlaftis is on one side. You're seeing the emergence of Dana. I think Dana's not going anywhere, right? Yeah. How many spots are left and how many snaps are really left. So I do think another veteran edge rusher makes some sense. I just don't think Frank Clark's going to do it. I think I would like to have Frank Clark back. I think the Chiefs, to an extent, wouldn't mind having Frank Clark back. But Frank Clark, the way he's left, it makes me believe he thinks he can get either one more decent-sized contract money-wise or one more ability to be a starter. He would not be a starter anymore on the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he would slide into that Melvin Ingram role, the Carlos Dunlap role. And I'm okay with that, but I don't think he is. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. the Chiefs know how great he is and how important he is in ways that aren't measurable by any sort of stat or metric. And yet, you have to give the new guys a chance. To me, this is that perfect example of that quandary of when do you move on from a player? And, like at this point, it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, if they can bring him back for cheap, but also if you're Clark, do you want starters minutes for bigger money on a lesser team where you're sitting at home in January? Or do you want to participate in really building a legacy, right? I mean, if he comes along for another championship, then that just furthers his own legacy with the team and his presence on a defense that he's already made such an indelible mark in. He's like 3 sacks away from the all-time record, right? Postseason record, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine the chance to reach for a place like that most defenders never get to see because they never get to be in the playoffs that much. I would find that fascinating. But I think you're right. I think he'd have to maybe swallow his pride a bit to get there.
I will say it's tough. You never think you're at that point of your career until you're there. You don't ever think that I am just now a rotational piece. Melvin Ingram, right? He went to Miami. He's like, I want to start. I want to make more money. I want to do this, that, and the other. Carlos Dunlap. You hit a certain point when the market tells you this is what you are. But I guarantee deep down, these guys all think, man, I can still be a starter. I can still get starters numbers, put up those sacks. I can still get paid like a starter, but eventually the market dictates what it's going to be. Again, we will find out and we will see. Frank Clark, I don't expect to sign anytime soon. I would expect him to wait. If they want to hold out OTAs, they want to wait and do what was that Melvin Ingram that did that?
Just waited until like early July, mid-July, before training camp.
Seems like something that Frank Clark would do. You've been through so many training camps. You've been through so many OTAs. You're not getting a ton out of it at this point. You kind of are who you are. That's when I would expect him to sign. One name that I would be intrigued by, I've said it a couple times on this show, that I think is ready to go into this role. I know people who are KU fans or K-State fans are going to say, Sterling, stop talking about Mizzou guys. This doesn't really have a Mizzou connection. It is Marcus Golden, but it's not because he went to Mizzou. Okay.
Sure.
So you can take that out of the equation here. I'm not trying to just be a Mizzou homer here, because Marcus Golden, I think, could get the best from him by Joe Cullen. He's been an outside linebacker the majority of his NFL career, but he's also played D-end in a traditional, 4-3 set. He had 11 sacks in 2021, starting only 5 games. Okay. Last year was different. Last year, he started 14 games, had 2.5 sacks, had a bad season. He's kind of been up and down. He's had 3 seasons in his career with double-digit sacks. Okay. So there is a lot of upside he has shown, and not even that long ago. We're talking not last year, the year before. I don't think there's a big market for a 32-year-old Marcus Golden. And if anyone can get the best out of him, it would be Joe Cullen. I think the versatility he would bring, put him on the other side of George Karlaftis, and he wouldn't be someone that you have to have starting, all 17 games. He's already been used to that role. I mean, starting 5 games in 2021. That just shows me that he would be okay being a rotational piece.
Sure. I like that. I'm a little surprised that someone with his history of production, like being so strong at certain times, has not already been like lured in someplace, signed somewhere when the potential can be that good on the field. One thing that comes to my mind, though, when we talk about situational pass rushers, one of the ways that we always talked about Leo Chenal when he was coming in was that he might turn into one of those guys who's like not just a linebacker, but actually someone who would line up as a situational rusher on obvious passing downs, who could maybe line out wide and wreak some havoc there alongside the linemen on the defense. Do you think we could see Chenal begin to develop in that kind of way now that he's got some experience here in Spag's system?
I mean, I thought we were going to. I did. I really thought we would see Leo Chenal just a little bit last year do some of that, and we didn't. He was a rookie. He had a lot of guys in the pecking order, but that was, I don't want to say disappointing, because it's tough to be super disappointed in a rookie, right? It's really tough when you win the Super Bowl and say, that rookie should have played more. I wanted to see more of that. Well, you won the Super Bowl. How disappointed can you really be? But I thought we would see him more in that role. We didn't. He's 6'3", 250, so he'd be a little bit undersized. But again, guys like Micah Parsons, he's smaller than Leo Chanel. He's doing fine.
Yeah.
Maybe we see more of that this year. Maybe if, Amenahu is going to be suspended for a few games, you see him fill in that role. But I don't think we're going to see it with any sort of regularity. Maybe it's more of a situational, a couple times here and there, but not a consistent pass rush from Leo.
Yeah. One of our commenters here, Jonathan Irvin, brings up something that I hadn't really thought too much about. I'd bring back Dunlap or Clark, because isn't Amenahu going to be suspended for like 6 games? I mean, the legal process hasn't played out on that. But then again, the NFL often does its own thing. Anyway, do you have any expectations on what could happen there, or how long he could sit?
No.
And would that affect your roster decision, or would you just choose to go thinner and wait that out?
I would probably do what I was going to do anyways. Another veteran and a rookie.
Yeah.
And frankly, that might give the rookie a better opportunity early on to see what you have in him. I will say tackle and defensive line are the two positions where I always say personally, it takes a while for them to really develop. We saw it with Karlaftis. We saw it with Aiden Hutchinson. We saw it with Kayvon Thibodeau. It takes about half the year before they really starts clicking. I don't know if it's the size differential. I don't know if it's the speed differential. I don't know if it's just taking out or figuring out how NFL offensive linemen and the schemes and everything work. It's different. Even if you play in the SEC, even if you went to Georgia, even if you're playing Alabama, it's not the same as playing against NFL competition in the offensive lines of the NFL. It always takes them a while. So maybe getting their feet wet early, seeing what they have, and then bring Charles Amenahu back, and then you're kind of get the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting the way that you say that, because I'm thinking of the secondary. It's totally opposite. Remember L'Jarius Sneed was a week 1 starter. And then right after that first game, it was like, whoa, who's that guy? Right? Jalen Watson seals the game with that like 99 or 98-yard touchdown return in week 2 last year. Trent McDuffie misses like 7 games on the front end of the hamstring, comes in and looks like a lockdown corner from the get-go. Some of those guys in the secondary can come in and play immediately and look great. And but in the trenches is a totally different thing.
I thought you were going to read from Jonathan Irvin when you said that. I got a little nervous. He did say, Sterling, you got to shave the stash, man, looking like an 80s porn star. Now, how would you know what an 80s porn star looks like?
Yes, that's a good one. By the way, you're my friend. But even if you weren't, I like it. I like the look. I like, my grandma would say you're precious. If you were any more precious, you would be based on the novel Push by Sapphire. That's how good you look. So just saying that there. Yeah.
Comment from Joe Brony. I like the Gabbert addition with Nagy being elevated to OC. Adding a veteran to the room makes sense, not to teach Mahomes, but rather to be another set of eyes in the film room. I think that's a good point. Nice one.
Yeah. Sterling, I want to throw the question back at you that I imagined you threw at me, which is, if you have a move, is that Marcus Golden? Is that would that be your answer?
Yeah.
Or is there any other move that you would rather see before that one?
Extension for Chris Jones. That's what I want to see. I don't really care about any other move at this exact moment. I think you'll see an edge rusher, a veteran guy, but it won't be until about June, July. Like, it'll be about when you saw Ingram sign, when you see, Dunlap sign, or Ingram when he signed with the Dolphins, right? It's going to be later on in the year and in the offseason. I think the draft happens first. I think this is probably what we're going to see until the NFL draft. Again, we're not that far away, so that's probably not too crazy of a take to say.
Yeah.
But no, I think you saw the veteran wide receiver and Richie James come in. You saw them bringing back Justin Watson. I don't see some splashy move. They're not going to go after DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think any team is going after DeAndre Hopkins, it looks like. So we'll see. But I think the Chiefs are pretty much set at the moment, and you might see a little veteran splash here and there, but nothing big name.
Yeah. I agree with you. I don't think anything's going to happen there. And you and I discussed this last night too. All of the extensions, I think it bears repeating here. For all those who are like, oh, when are they going to sign him? When are they going to sign him? As in Chris Jones. Remember when Brett Veach extended Harrison Butker, when Brett Veach extended Tyreek Hill the first time, when Brett Veach extended, or even when Dorsey and Veach, when Chris Jones got his first extension, or even Travis Kelce on the current deal that he's on, all of those deals were done after mid-June. It was at least mid-June in the calendar, all the way through early September. And so clearly the front office is like, let's get our roster construction done, and then we'll get to extending who we need to extend. And so it'll be interesting to see who they go for and when. Do you think that Jones is the only guy that is going to happen there, or would you think someone else, like, Snead, Willie Gay? You think we'll see someone else in that boat this year too?
I've gone back and forth so much on L'Jarius Sneed. I would love to see L'Jarius Sneed in Kansas City, but it doesn't always just come down to who do you want here in Kansas City. It comes down to financially, does it make sense? Position of value, does it make sense? Let me stick on Chris Jones really quickly, because I do see Lewis says, what would you offer Jones? I know the report was you wanted to be the second highest paid interior defensive tackle in the NFL, right? So that means Aaron Donald's one. Aaron Donald, his contract was $95 million, AAV of 31.666, repeating, of course, million per season. So if that's number one, you have Jeffrey Simmons, who signed recently, who's 25 years old. He signed a 4-year deal for $94 million, which breaks down to 23.5 AAV. So you're looking at in between there is what probably Chris Jones wants. Chris Jones, obviously the age is going to be the difference maker here. If I'm looking at personally paying Chris Jones, I wouldn't be opposed to a, would you do 3 for $75, $25 million per year?
Oh yeah, I'm totally fine at 25.
Do you think it's the 4th year, though, where the question mark's going to come in? 3 for $75, I could not sign that quick enough if I were the Chiefs. 4 for $100, now I might have a little pause.
Yeah. The reason you don't have that deal is because you have little pause. But he has big pause, and that's why he gets the deal, because he can swat away passes at the line. Yeah, I mean, I would go higher than that. I would go 26, 27, and make it good guaranteed on the first 3, and then I would, I mean, if he earns it, if he plays well enough to be age 32 and paid $30 million a year, I would pay it. But otherwise, I would just leave it.
I will say he's going to be 29 to start next year.
Yeah.
He's going to be 29. I think you're right. It'd be probably a 4-year deal where the majority of the 3 years are guaranteed. That 4th year is probably going to be a little bit of funny money. But if you can find a way to make Chris Jones happy, that would make him the second highest paid defensive lineman in the NFL, especially AAV wise. And that's, I'm assuming, what he wants. We're yet to see Quinnen Williams, which might just throw a wrench into all of this, which is why I always like to get out of these things in front. Once the market is set for you, then you have to go and jump it. Same thing with Tyreek Hill. We thought they were going to get a deal signed with Tyreek Hill. Then Devontae Adams had his deal. And next thing you know, price went up. If you wait for Quinnen Williams, I'm going to tell you right now, price is going to go up. So,
yeah, Quinnen said he wants 23 to 25. So, if that's the case, if he gets the top end of that, now you got to start at a new floor.
Yep.
What do you do with that?
Yep. And I don't blame Chris Jones. Chris Jones is going to get his one last big payday, and he deserves it. I mean, he outplayed Aaron Donald last year. He was the biggest game wrecker in the interior of any player in the NFL. I mean, he was top 3 NFL Defensive Player of the Year voting. He's incredible. He's the one guy for the Chiefs you cannot let walk. Yep. L'Jarius Sneed, I'll get to him now. I love L'Jarius Sneed. His versatility is incredible. Incredible. But cornerback just doesn't have that same impact, especially a lot of times that he's playing in the slot, that Chris Jones has. Chris Jones wrecks the game. L'Jarius Sneed is an incredible piece to have, but I wouldn't say he wrecks the game. Chris Jones does. The Chiefs have not kept cornerbacks in the past. You got to go back to what Brandon Flowers, Brandon Carr, and even those guys got away. You know, I mean, Marcus Peters was gone. Charvarius Ward, if you want to go Brett Veach era, Charvarius Ward was a very good player here. Went to San Fran, put up a top 10 CB ranking last year. I mean, he was incredible for San Francisco. They didn't keep him. Yeah. They said you're gone. I don't know what that means for L'Jarius Sneed. He's more versatile than L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed is more versatile than Charvarius Ward. But at the same time, Charvarius Ward is more of a traditional coverage corner. Those guys get paid more. Yeah. This is a very intriguing situation.
Yeah. If you wanted to keep this defense very, very inexpensive, you sign Jones like that, but then you draft a guy like Brian Branch out of Alabama in the first round. The guy's like Sneed. I mean, you could put him in nickel corner. He can play versatile all over as safety. So he would be that guy again. The guys had like Budda Baker kind of comparisons. You're just going to see, you know, if you do that, then you could trade Sneed, let him go, keep the secondary hyper cheap. The linebackers are going to stay a little bit cheaper as well until you have to extend probably Bolton. I'm not sure that Willie Gay Jr. is getting an extension. I know. I just don't know. If so, he will have earned it after, like, he needs another year to prove it. And then at that point, he's probably pretty expensive. So, you know, either way, it could be out. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, you know, it could turn into Chris Jones expensive and then a bunch of cheap guys on rookie deals. I mean, it could be that.
I see Richard in the chat. Sneed is him. Sneed sacks were huge during the year. I'm not disagreeing. I think L'Jarius Sneed is clear-cut the second best player defensively for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm just telling you what the Chiefs have done, what they have shown us. They don't value corner, especially when they hit on cornerbacks. L'Jarius Sneed was a fourth round draft pick. Rashad Fenton was a 6th round draft pick and made an impact in the Super Bowl, the first one, right? Or the second one, technically. They got impact plays from Joshua Williams, 4th round, Jalen Watson, 7th round. They just sunk a 1st rounder into Trent McDuffie, so that's a 5th-year option on him. If they draft a cornerback this year, that tells you all you need to know. Yeah. If they draft a cornerback relatively early, I'll say first 3 rounds, first 4 rounds this year, that would lead me to believe L'Jarius Sneed is gone.
Wow. Boy, I'd hate to see it. I mean, I'd hate to see it. I love him so much. But after the Tyreek Hill trade, all bets are off. Like, to me, at that point, the Chiefs are looking at. I feel like someone could have said before, maybe this is what we can debate here. I feel like someone could have said before, oh, the only thing that matters around here is Patrick Mahomes. I'd be like, well, I get it, but no, you've got Patrick, Tyreek, Travis, Chris, maybe even Tyron. You get a lot of guys here that matter. After Matthew leaves, Reed comes in. After you trade Tyreek, suddenly you're like, you know what? Really the only one that does, like, that has there's no price. There's no, like, under any circumstances are we going to allow him to go? No, everyone's open. And that doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make them, it doesn't mean the Chiefs don't value them. It just means that there's a price. Yeah. And they can be had. And I just think that's the lesson we learned from last offseason.
Well, and I think what's so impactful is Brett Veach is not scared to make the unpopular move. Brett Veach is not in the business of selling jerseys. He's not in the business of making the fans always happy, at least in the moment. He's in the business of winning Super Bowls. He won one last year while trading away Tyreek Hill. Yeah. Tyreek Hill was not only just a fan favorite, he was putting up records here in Kansas City, right? He was going to be the all-time, breaking all these wide receiver records here. And he said, you know what? No, we think we can be better this upcoming season and for the future trading him away. We can't be held back by that contract. He did it. You know how unpopular that was when it happened? How many people said, what the bleep is he doing? And if that didn't work out, say the Chiefs took a massive step back offensively, he could have potentially been on the hot seat.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that's the kind of move that could put a head coach or a GM on the hot seat. But he believed in his convictions, and it worked. It's the same reason why I keep saying the Chiefs trade back from 31, he'll do it. If that is the best way that this team gets better, if Brett Veach believes that trading back out of the first round will help this team, he'll do it. He's not in the business of making the fans happy on April 27th. He's in the business of making them happy in February, holding up the Lombardi.
That's
what he cares about. I mean,
that's true, a good quote. Yeah,
it's true. That's what he's about.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great quote about April 27th. You're totally right there. Although, I think we all want to see at least a draft pick, if not like some sexy move up the draft board, or whatnot. But yeah. Hey, I want to switch gears here just real fast. The terms came out on your boy. I want to talk about this. Richie James signed a 1-year deal with the Chiefs. The official terms came out a few days ago, and it's pretty minimal, dude. It is the only guaranteed money going Richie James's way was less than what I thought it would be, $552,000 going his way, way less than Justin Watson and anyone else. I know you love the guy. I know you're for him. I'm not against him. Of course, like we all want to see all the Chiefs and every Chief do well. But at the time when I saw it, I thought, oh my gosh, the money says this guy's not even guaranteed a roster spot. When at the time he was signed, I think we all were like, okay, here's wide receiver 4, and he's slotting in for McCole Hardman, and he's going to help on offense and return. I wondered what you thought when you saw the terms of the deal. Did that change your mind any about what to expect from him, etc.?
No, it really didn't. I don't have extreme expectations for him. It's not like I'm saying he's going to have over 800 yards receiving this year. I think he is who he is. And I will also say this. I bet he could have made more money if he would have waited a little longer. I bet he could have gone to a different team and made a little bit more money, but you've been stuck on the Giants for how long? You're 27 now. You might want to start winning a game or two. You might see what it's like to play with Mahomes instead of Danny Dimes. Like these are all all parts of an equation that could be taken into account here. So
sure.
I don't think Richie James is going to have a massive impact next year. But the point is, I think he helps this team in a multitude of ways. Number one, I think it helps Kadarius Toney. I hate saying it, but Richie James is going to take the unnecessary hits that Toney was probably going to take.
Yeah,
that's a little bit of what it is. Kadarius Toney, I don't want to take some unnecessary hits running these gadget plays that McCole Hardman ran. Richie James is explosive in his own right. Toney, while more explosive, he's not shown the ability to stay healthy. Let's let Toney focus on being the best wide receiver he can be. The Chiefs want to be wide receiver 1. Don't be running these gadget plays.
Yeah.
You don't need to be running these in arounds. You don't need to be running the stuff. Let Richie James handle that. Kadarius, you focus on being wide receiver 1. That's what Richie James does. That's what he allows. That's why I think it's such a good signing. That's why I'm a big fan of it. Just everything Richie James can do. Yes, he doesn't excel at anything, but he can take a lot of weight off of some of the back end of these guys, which in turns helps the top end of the wide receiving core.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with you on the return stuff. We've talked about this before, but I just feel like when the Kansas City Chiefs saw Tyreek Hill during his rookie year, they came away from that evaluation saying, we got to clear his plate. We've got to let him focus only on offense. And the history books themselves have been rewritten for the franchise because of that move that they did. I'm not saying that Kadarius Toney is going to reset the record books in Kansas City, but I would say the way to get Kadarius Toney to live up to his potential as a top 20 NFL draft pick is you clear his slate. you let him focus, you give him the rock, and you let him feast. And you also cross your fingers that he stays healthy. But hopefully with that, they've already did this with Tyreek, and Tyreek developed in a way that no one saw coming, right? Like after the fact, you're like, when did he learn to track the ball like that? When did he learn to make that contested catch? And, like when did he get that strong? It's pretty amazing story.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at with Richie James. A valuable, versatile piece. But again, that contract is not a lot. And I wonder if part of that was he was finally done being on a losing organization. Although I will say the Giants are turning the page. Fine, we'll go Bob Seeger this time. We'll instead of the Metallica version, we'll switch it up a little bit here. So,
Bob Seeger, nice. Folks, by the way, if you're listening in and want to hang out with us with a little bit of swag on, just want to let you know we got you covered. Look, the Arrowhead Addict merch store is live. You can visit it right now by clicking the link in the description of the video, the podcast, however you're taking this in. Look, we've got shirts, we've got hoodies, we've got baby onesies. Do we have bath mats? Do we have shower caps? I need Arrowhead Addict swag when I'm trying to get dressed for the day. If not, we should get that. Richard, can you get on that? I don't know if you can. Anyway, just so you know, we have a super secret promo code for this week's listeners. Use the code WACKY. That's WAACKY. WACKY with 2 A's to get 10% off your order today. And make sure to use that fast. It will expire by this Saturday. Rep the podcast, help us out, support us, and we appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm getting excited for the draft. I'm going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be there, I think, almost every single day. So if anyone's coming to the draft, feel free to hit me up. I know if in the Discord, I know some people are down there. Feel free to just reach out on Discord, or if you're coming, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. I'll be down there having some fun.
Patrick will be there.
Patrick's going to be there. I think we're going to meet up at some point. I don't know what all I'm doing. I don't know. I have a media pass, and I have no idea what I'm doing. So we're going to find out. Maybe I'm there asking questions. Maybe I'm there drinking beers. Maybe I'm there just vibing. I have no idea. We're going to find out.
You need to hug Roger Goodell.
Do you think he'd like that? Do you think if I went up to Roger and said, "Hey, Raj," but I gotta say, "Hey, Raj," like, "Hey, Raj, come here, bring it in, bud." I can act like we're long lost friends.
I mean, you have the 80s mustache. He'd probably think you were from back in the day. He'd probably be scratching his head going, how do I know this guy? And by that time, you've already hug accomplished, right? I mean, at that point, you're already done.
Yeah. And then I just hold up a jersey. I'll pretend I'm someone else. Boom. There we go. That's how I realized my dream of being a professional athlete.
Maybe you're a former player. Who could you be? Maybe you're, I don't know. Maybe you're Mike Cloud.
That's a bull.
I don't know. Maybe you're Anthony Becht. Yeah, I don't know.
A bull.
Yeah, I'm making some up. What are you most excited about for the draft? The drama of the Chiefs making picks, or just the fact that it's in Kansas City in general?
In Kansas City in general, but I think what makes this draft so much fun, if you're going down, if you're a fan of not just the Chiefs, but of any team, I think anything can happen. I honestly think this might be one of those wild drafts in recent memory. There's not a clear-cut number one. What's going to happen with Jalen Carter? How much movement are we going to see? The Texans have 2 picks in the top 12. Are they going to trade back from 2 and then trade up to 7 and draft Will Levis at 7? We don't know what's going to happen. I'm very excited. The Chiefs are at 31. I don't think they're going to draft at 31. They're either trading back or trading forward, and my gut tells me they're trading forward. I think they might trade up and try and get Darnell Wright. If he's on the move, you see him around 20. Watch out. Chiefs might go up 11 spots. This is a situation where almost anything is on the table. Originally CJ Stroud was going 1. All of a sudden, look at the betting odds. Now it's Bryce Young.
Yeah.
How far will CJ Stroud go? Because now Will Levis is going up people's boards. This is an insane potential draft. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. I was there in Philly when they drafted Mahomes. I was there when they traded up. That was an incredible experience. Just being there when your team makes a draft pick is so fun, just because there's all that hope. But the Chiefs, they have a different kind of hope. Like, we already have the main core pieces. Now you're getting the fun add-ons. That's the great feeling for Chiefs fans. You're not trying to find the guy, because you have the guy. You're looking who can help the guy. And that's a great spot to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, the Chiefs are already a great team. I keep trying to tell myself that I'd be just fine with a tight end, and I would get over a running back in the first round. Like, I'd feel like, okay, I'd be fine with it. I'd be okay. But I don't know. I really want to tackle, or I really want a pass rusher. I don't even really want a wide receiver, but I'd take one. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
I was thinking this the other day. Where was this? The worst draft pick of all time. Okay. Now, I'm not going to say Ryan Leaf, because Ryan Leaf, I think a lot of people had him where he was at. It just sucks. Jamarcus Russell, it's too common. Obviously, Mitchell Trubisky, it's too common. Saw this one. BetMGM posted this one. How about top 60 pick Roberto Aguayo, the kicker, drafted 59th overall?
Oh, gosh.
And if you want the Kansas City connection, the Bucs traded with the Chiefs a 3rd and 4th round for this pick. So not only did they give up a 2nd rounder, a 3rd rounder, and a 4th round sunk into this kicker, he lasted only 1 year before he was released.
Oh, geez. How bad did he have? Like, mental? There had to be like some mental issues going on there where he just couldn't overcome.
I don't know. I have no idea. Whatever happened to Roberto
Aguayo?
Is he still in the NFL somewhere? He's a free agent.
All right, get on it. Get on it, Brett Veach.
He is a free agent. He played in all 16 games for Tampa Bay. He went. What is this? Give me the whole list, you son of a gun. Why are you making this so difficult? He was only 4 of 10 from 40 yards plus. 4 of 11 from 40 yards plus. That'll do it.
Dude, it's like me or you out there. I would be so bad. I would slip 2 steps toward the ball and then just start screaming in the fetal position, knowing that like a 300 whatever pound guy was like running toward me. I would just wither and die. I wasn't made for competition. I don't know. Would you? Do you think you could kick a field goal against like real special teams competition?
No, but I just love you. I was not built for real competition. I don't know why, but put that on a shirt. Matt Conner, I was not made for real competition.
That's true, man. It's true. Unless it's like Risk. Dude, I'll take Madagascar. Give me Madagascar. I'll win all day. I'll take all y'all. Anyway,
bring Richard in here. Come on.
Please do. We're gone long enough. This is silly.
Oh, I was muted. What's up, guys?
What's up, Richard?
How we doing? Good show, huh? I'm loving the punts from Matt. I'm threatening to end the stream every moment.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I didn't even get to use half of my Blaine Gabbert punts.
Use it. Now's the time. Come on.
I didn't get to Blaine it on the rain. I'm not going to do them all because Richard. Look at Richard already. He's going to cut me off. All right, here we go, folks. We've reached the time at the end of our show where that we call the must list. It's the time where we try our best to pay something back to the audience by recommending something that we hope you will enjoy since we've enjoyed it. Let me ask you, Richard, do you want to lead us out? What do you have this week for your must list?
All right, we're going to go normal. I think that's the rhythm I should go with. I should do a few normal ones, and then we'll go something wacky. So this week, I've got a 40-pound book I have to pull over. We're going to recommend The Goon. I'm not recommending you pick up the 40-pound book, but I'm recommending the graphic novel.
I'm going to go normal. Here's a 40-pound book.
I mean, yeah, you should all grab a copy of the 40-pound Goon compendium here. but Eric Powell's supernatural horror action comic is really lovely. It's got amazing art too. I mean, look at this silly stuff. You've got a psychic seal. Doesn't that just tickle your funny bone there, Connor? Psychic seal, an ad for a psychic seal. There's like a if I turn to the right page, there's like a Hellboy crossover. Like it's it's the vibe I love, which is just horror and monsters and zombies. And so I wanted to recommend The Goon. Check it out if you just want a fun read. It's not too it's not too brainy. It's just good schlock.
That's your normal.
Yeah, that's my normal. That's a pretty normal recommendation.
You would, dude. If you lift that book over and over, you'd like work your gabs. You like that would be your gabdomen would look really great if you did that.
Great job, Matt.
Thanks.
Your turn.
Hey, I'll go next. I can't recover from that. So I just saw a movie called Linoleum. It's brand new, coming out, and it's Jim Gaffigan, the comedian, and then like Rhea Seehorn, who's the main girl, Kim Wexler from Better Call Saul, and they play this like it's like middle-aged man falling apart. He plays like an old like Bill Nye the Science Guy, like as Jim Gaffigan. It's like a real serious role, and it's like part sci-fi, part drama, part like it's kind of a crazy, weird meta, like Charlie Kaufman kind of thing, if you're into that.
Okay.
In the films. And anyway, it's a new director. He wrote it and directed it and then spent all these years on it. And they filmed it during the pandemic. And anyway, it's called Linoleum. It just came out. It's so good. And it's like pretty moving. But anyway, yeah,
Does Gaffigan do his famous Hot Pocket jokes in the middle of the film?
Hot Pocket.
Yeah.
No, he's like real serious. It's like when you ever seen like when Adam Sandler did like Punch Drunk?
Yes,
like when you
I love
see,
Punch Drunk.
Yeah, or Punch Drunk Love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you see a comedian do these like oddly serious roles, even like Will Ferrell in like Stranger Than Fiction or something. You're like, oh wow, there's some like more depth here than maybe what I thought. And anyway, Gaffigan's like way better than you think he'd be, and so yeah, I thought it was good.
How much does that movie weigh, by the way? Is it compared to My Big Book? Sterling, your turn?
Yeah.
When you start weighing things, I thought it was in the Tolstoy, War and Peace. That's the book.
Yeah, that's how you should compare. Like, like when people say, how much do you bench? It's like,
yeah,
how much do you read? And I mean that in like pounds.
Yeah, how much Tolstoy is it? How much is the Tolstoy? Mine's going to be normal. Sorry, guys. Sorry for everyone for letting you down. Mine's going to be normal. Dirty Honey. The band Dirty Honey, then EP, then an album called Dirty Honey. The EP came out in 2019. Really good hard rock. Rollin' Sevens is an incredible song. California Dreamin' is a really good one as well. When I'm Gone, Heartbreaker. Really big fan of Dirty Honey. If you're into some newer rock that kind of Zeppelin-esque, a little Zeppelin-esque, I would recommend Dirty Honey. Really, really good.
Do you like Dirty Honey in general? Like bees who refuse to wash their hands during COVID, and they're like, I'm not doing that. And they're like,
I'm just gonna end it. I'm just gonna end the show.
I'm sorry, guys.
I'm gonna say this. I blame it on the alcohol for Matt Conner. And there's your last pun. There's your last one.
All right, that's good. That's good.
This was the worst thing we decided to ever do is a pun show about Blaine Gabbert. But yet here we are, and thank you guys so much for being with us. I see everyone chatting. So apparently they didn't hate us too much. This is the Arrowhead Addict podcast. I'll be back tomorrow with Adam Best. We'll take a deep dive talking more about the draft, some wide receivers as well. For Matt Conner, for Richard, I am Sterling Holmes. We are out.
I'm sorry.